All right, caller from 803 area code. You're live on You're the One.
Peace. What's good?
Peace, brother.
Peace. What's good? I love your page. I love your page, man. I had one question because I was watching your page and it actually led to an argument because what you had said resonated with me, and I was just wanting you to go further into that. Is about the slave trade and how it started. Really, the initial slave trade started from them bringing blacks from America into Europe. And I just want to know if you could just expound on that a little bit. If I could recall correctly, that's what you had said on one of your videos, and that resonated so much with me, how that was such a misinformation about how they just started that whole thing. So I just wanted you to just expound on that a little bit.
All right. Yeah, so like I said, basically it's like this. Okay, there were originally blacks here in America prior to slavery, prior to the arrival of the Europeans that began the slave trade, Christopher Columbus and all of them. And yes, Christopher Columbus was a slave trader. He was one of the first, his son actually was one of the first people, he was one of the first slave traders. And so, you had these what we would call Indians or Native Americans here, and many of the ones on the East Coast look just like you and I. I'm not sure how you look, but I'm a black dude. I'm really black, nappy hair, all that, and they look just like us. And when they came over here, they enslaved the Indians that were here, those black Indians that were here, and they was using them to try to establish their civilizations over here. However, when they enslaved these Indians here on their own land, it was difficult to keep track and keep up with them and keep them enslaved because the Indians lived here or the natives lived here, the indigenous, they lived here. They knew the land better than the foreigners, so it would be easy for them to escape. So, what they would do was they would take indigenous people from Florida and ship them to Mississippi, and take indigenous people from Mississippi and ship them to South Carolina, the region we call South Carolina. They would ship them around the country thinking, okay, well, if we take them out of their habitat to another area, we would call it a state now, but if we take them to another place, maybe it'll be easier to, keep them in check. But these people, they would run away, and, they knew the land still because it was still America. They knew the land. They knew how to get away. And these people were a very prideful people. So they weren't going to just settle for being slaves. So what they would do is they would refuse to work, even if the slave masters would beat them. They would allow the slave masters to beat them to death. I'm going to try to speed it up, but they would allow the slave masters to beat them to death than work. They would starve themselves to death rather than be slaves. They would refuse to have sex so they wouldn't have kids to be slaves. So since these slaves were so difficult, they would take these slaves because they couldn't use them, and they would take them to Europe, to the Spain region. That's why you get Spain. You get slaves ending up in Spain. You can actually find the slave records if you look hard enough online about the slaves that were brought from America to Spain. They would take them to Spain. They would take some of the black people that were in Spain, and there were black people in Spain. The Moors had already been there, and they would take them to Africa. And they would take them to Africa, and then they would get African people and bring them here. That's the true meaning of the triangle trade that they tell us about, and they try to say they brought slaves here, and then they brought some of the goods from here to Europe, etc. Well, they was taking black people from America to Europe, and taking other blacks from Europe to Africa, and then taking other blacks from Africa back to America. And that was the triangle that they were taking the slaves in. So they was trying to relocate them into regions where they could control them, and the slaves in that region wouldn't know the land to be able to get away. And that's how that all went down.
Appreciate that.
Class is in session. Go ahead, because I'm taking notes. Go ahead.
That's pretty much it. And I mean, like, as far as people will argue with you, because it's something that they haven't been taught in school, and people still believe what they were taught in school. They still believe that, if it didn't come from what I learned in school, then it must be garbage, because they still think that the same people that enslaved black people, the same people that wouldn't treat us right, would teach us right years later. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, if they didn't treat you right, why would they teach you right? But they still believe it. So, don't worry about, like, arguing with people who don't get it or who don't even have an open mind to even delve into the information. Like, you don't have to believe any of the stuff in any of the videos. No one does. But it's just about having an open mind about, learning about what the possibilities of what we don't know. But when people are so shut off that they don't want to hear it, then, just leave them be. You drop a little jewel here and there. And eventually, if they're meant to be one of the people that wake all the way up, then they will. Everybody's not meant to get to the same level of consciousness or enlightenment. Some people aren't meant to come at all, you know what I'm saying, as far as being conscious. Everybody has their own role to play, so, don't worry about people that want to argue with you. You're going to take what you resonate with, they're going to take what they resonate with, and you just keep it moving.
I feel that. I appreciate that, too, a lot.